Before we get into today's video, I'd like to ask for you guys to like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 500 subs. Thank you. Alright guys, we're back for another Five Nights Tower Defense video. I know I'm pumping these out, but, you know, FNAF 4 is coming out soon, so I kind of just want to get these preliminary videos out of the way, kind of get my style in, see what you guys thinking about the videos. You seem to be supporting them well so far, so I thank you very much for that. So today, as you read the title, is going to be the Ultimate Trading Guide. This is gonna help probably most people. To some people, this will be obvious advice, but it's gonna be because you've traded for a little while or you've kind of already done this in other games before. It's gonna be a similar kind of thing. Now, I kind of just want to jump into like the in-game kind of the most, I don't know, like the most facilitated way of trading in-game, like the most like flashiest visual thing. And now, in terms of trading with this with souls, people do not really like doing soul trades too much. I think it's a combination of the duping stuff that's happened before, so people are always a bit wary about it. It's been patched now, so maybe that kind of effect will dwindle in the future, but most people are kind of just looking for units. So if you can snag something here for a reasonable price, and I'll show you how to find a reasonable price later on, I definitely do so. Be careful with selling kind of your units here. Again, make sure you're very aware of values and make it so it's probably a little bit over what it would actually be valued at, just because of that thing I mentioned before, the souls and people not really wanting to trade. You know, people don't really want souls over just units, which is fair enough. Anyway, so there's not much to speak about the trading plaza. It's a very, like, you know, you're buying units for souls, you're trading units for souls. It's a little bit less nuanced than what I'm about to talk about, because with that, it's just like a one-to-one number exchange. Now, what I want you to go to is you're going to want to go join the Five Nights Tower Defense Discord. You'll want to go click FAQ. You're going to want to click Trade Value Lists. And then here, you've got different lists here. Now, obviously, these are fan submissions. These are not, like, official things by developers. These are just, like, generally what these members of the community think that these things are worth. And usually, I will say from my experience, usually these are pretty good. There are some outliers sometimes that I look at and I laugh at because it's just inaccurate as all hell from actual trading. But this is definitely a very good place to kind of look around. What I'd say is I wouldn't really stick with one. All of these have some goofy selections in terms of values and placements. But like if you're using them kind of all together and you're kind of averaging out the value, for the most part, you're gonna be pretty accurate in terms of what things are worth. Right, so we've got all that out of the way. You can see the, you know, nice fancy numbers. You know, it's like, okay, well, sure, like this is cool and all, but what does this, you know, what am I doing with this? Like, you know, what should I be trading for? Because yeah, things are valuable, but you've also got to take into account demand, and that's something that you should definitely be looking at. There's also just circumstances with certain releases for the units, and just being a little bit more aware generally of what circumstances lead to units being more valuable than others is a very important part of trading, and allowing you to actually, usually if you're trading with these value lists already established, it's too late to get very good deals. If you are kind of understanding the circumstances of the unit pretty much like an hour or so after it comes out, and you kind of understand, you know, what it's doing, how much demand it's going to have, how many exist, and how many will exist probably, it's definitely worth it. Okay, so that's the most valuable part of trading, is understanding what the unit's values might look like in the future without having seen it. That's the most valuable part, I'd say, in terms of actually getting really good trades. So, from my experience, what you're kind of looking for is these units. So the Tarnished Spring Bonnie, Scott Cawthon, and to a lesser kind of extent, Abyssal Foxy. But when these units release, if you don't know what these kind of like why these units are unique, they basically release for a certain time frame. It's advertised. Sometimes it's followed, sometimes it's not. Scott was like up for like 2 days longer than he should have been, which led to a few more existing than they should be. But basically, they come out for a certain period of time, and they are fully purchasable with coins, or tokens as they're called. But they get like more and more expensive each time. Now, for trading, I definitely recommend that you get these guys. You stock up on them. If you cannot get them for whatever reason, you can't grind or whatever, but you want to trade for them, do not trade for these units within the first like 3 days after they release. I'd probably say about like halfway through their release, so they're still obtainable. So let's say they released on a Monday and they're going away Saturday. Try and trade for this unit on like Wednesday or Thursday, actually, I'd say, because it's basically the point where the hype has died down, but they're still obtainable for a little while. So their value's at their lowest and the demand's at the lowest, so you can get like the best deals. If you're trading for them on release, people just don't understand the value of the unit. They just trade absurd value for these things that aren't worth it, or they're like trying to underpay for them. It's like their value's not fully established yet. If you're like trading for these guys, you're going to get scammed. You are like 100%. You are going to get scammed because trading for these guys at the start. You're going to get the best value about midway through, and when they're gone, that's when the timer kind of starts with how much more demand they get and how much more value they kind of accrue. And especially when they're good. Abyssal didn't get this effect quite as much because he wasn't as good on release. He was pretty bad on release. Then they buffed him, which he was very good. Then they nerfed him, which he's still very good. It's just people kind of just think he's really bad for some reason. These guys, however, Tarnished Spring Bonnie is literally like my argument is like he's the meta starter unit. There is not a better starter unit than Tarnished Spring Bonnie. And there's like what 2 units better than Scott. And he is like way easier to obtain than both of them. So yeah, like do keep this in mind. They are always very good units. That's another thing that you need to keep in mind. A unit may technically be valuable. I think a great example of this is Withered Bonnie. And it's going to be the same case with Phantom Balloon Boy. This guy here. The reason why these guys are valuable is because, you know, they don't exist well, Withered Bonnie doesn't exist anymore. You can't get them anymore. And Phantom Balloon Boy is about to be the same situation. You can't get when FNAF 4 comes out, as soon as that update drops, he disappears. You can't get him anymore. He's unobtainable. But the reason why, like, you know, these guys have theoretical value because they're secret units with, like, you know, Withered Bonnie was a 0.5% drop rate. Balloon Boy is a 0.25% drop rate. Well, it is, like, he's not gone yet. But the problem with this is Withered Bonnie at least had some value. Phantom Balloon Boy sucks. But the thing is, like, in this case, it's understanding why these guys were valuable or are valuable, and that's to get the hidden unit at the end. Or like Shadow Bonnie and now Springtrap. So these guys technically have value, but their demand is just so low that it's like good luck trading them for that value, or just generally trading them at all. Because Withered Bonnie's been power crept. And speaking of power creep, a lot of value is based on how good you are. Or at least demand is pretty heavily based on how good you are. There's a reason why, you know, Leviathan Mangle is probably as valuable as it's probably why like Valkyrie Chica is as valuable as she is. You know, there's a reason why, you know, Shadow Bonnie, like like he is also unobtainable, and you know, there's not many of him that exist in the grand scheme of things. But he's also a very good unit, and that's why like his value kind of goes up. Like fringe collection choices like are fine, but you just must understand that you're not going to get your value back for them. I think I don't have him yet, but it's like Algae Fredbear, for example, or like Phantom Cupcake. Like Phantom Cupcake is never really could probably be worth anything. The shiny Cupcake is probably never going to be worth anything either. just because the unit itself sucks, like, really badly. I would actually somewhat counter to that. Shiny units, in my opinion, are grossly underpriced a lot of the time. There's some cases where their value just doesn't make any sense compared to how many exist. And like, a lot of these values are based on exist counts, because that's what you have to go off. But like, let's look at Commander Endo, for example. 660 of this guy exists, and I own 3 of them, right? That's not a flex, just this how it is. 660 of these guys exist, right? Quite a lot of the regular Commander Endos. But let's have a look at Commander Endo's price, the shiny version. You don't do shiny values. Alright, let's just find it real quick. 1200, right? And you're like, okay, maybe just Commander Endo is just like one of the least valuable units ever, or something like that. No, he's definitely. This is a weird multiplier. This just feels really undervalued considering how many exist. I would say there is actually a pretty good argument for snagging these low exist count shinies that just don't have value yet. This is a good example. Shiny Witch Toy Chica, she was worth about 2k max. And that was only like a week ago. 2 weeks ago. She was worth nothing. And now she's worth 7,000 to 8,000. I'm pretty sure that's corroborated by most of these value lists. Yeah, 8,000 to... These values can creep up incredibly quickly. So what I generally say to people is do not... I know when units release, it's very exciting, you want them immediately, right? And if you have, if you have an inventory like mine, or you just have some good trade volume, of units that are decently in demand, you can probably get the units relatively quickly and find people who do deals with you. But the problem is those units are going to lose most of their value, like a day after release, 2 days after release. Like, that's what happened with Rocketeer Mangle. It's what happened with Algae Fredbear. They released and they had, something like 1,400 value in souls, and then a couple days later, when more of them existed, because everyone gets them if they finish the military pass, suddenly, they're worth like 300, 400 on a good day, and they have no demand. And suddenly, if you did that trade on day 1, you've just lost 1,000 souls in value in a unit, and that's like, obviously that's pretty bad, especially if you're someone who doesn't spend as much time in the game. That's a pretty detrimental thing. Another piece of advice I'd have is the summonable Nightmare units. These guys kind of averaged out in value now. They're about 1,000 each last time I checked. These guys are like Bounded Shadow released, and he was worth about 3,000 souls. If you can get the Hail Mary soul value, so 0.01% when you're just summoning, you need to trade. If it's a new summonable Nightmare unit, you need to trade that unit immediately, because that's when, like, Bounded Shadow had some of the most insane demand I've ever seen in a unit, and the reason for that is because it's a Shadow Spring Trap, basically. You need to trade it away as soon as physically possible, because otherwise they'll lose all their value, and you've lost the chance of actually getting that unit. Basically just getting a free profit for something that is never going to hold that value in the first place. Shiny Nightmares are a little bit in a funny position. These guys, you must understand, they're always going to be obtainable, from what we know. They're always just going to be on the in the summons. They'll just rotate out. Same as Circuit Breaker Toy Freddy. So do be very careful when trading for these guys. So I think that increase in demand, yeah. I'd also say grabbing as many Season 1 units as you can at this current time is probably a good idea. I cannot tell you the amount of times I have traded Endo02, this guy right here. I've traded him in, I've put him in trades because he has one of the most universal high demands, high values And he's never really gone down. I think there's probably only arguments that he's just going to keep increasing as he gets older and older. I guess something that can counteract that is Endo 02 is kind of already starting to get power crept, and you know, depending on how bad FNAF 4's power creep is, he might be completely rotated out of use, which may hurt his value, but at the minute he's like a universal, you know, this guy's worth like 1,000 souls. And it doesn't change, like this guy's always kind of been in that slot. So as a specific unit advice, you know, if someone's offering you an Endo 02 and the value makes sense, most of the time I'd say like, yeah, that's probably a good deal, probably a good trade, So you're trading new units as soon as you get them. Or also, keeping, if you have the patience, if you have the ability to get multiples of one unit, keep them in the gift boxes. Do not open them unless you're feeling exceptionally lucky because of the 2% shiny chance. That's the only time it will ever be worth it. Units just being in the box, in the gift that you buy them in. Like, you know, for example, like Sentinel, Bonnie, like his gift will be always more valuable than the regular unit, and that's the same for every unit. So if you have the patience, just keeping them in the gift box will, and what I've seen with gift boxes is these values rise exponentially because like there's way less of these than the regular unit, and probably fairly similar to the actual shiny units exist count, if not only like 2 times more. When you're talking about, you know, numbers in the hundreds, that's not particularly much. So yeah, keeping everything in the gift box. I would say right now, if you're a free-to-play player, or if you're just generally a player that wants to get value, get these glitch presents and just hold on to them. Right now they're worth like 35 souls a pop or something. Last time I saw them being traded. If you just hold on to these and you just start trading them, you can probably get some deals that you probably shouldn't be able to, considering like this requires like no effort. It just requires you to leave your computer on and AFK. It's a little bit, I mean, it's tedious obviously, but there's very good value in doing this. And next, in terms of trading, is if you're going to try and get these gifts, which I would be hesitant to trade units for gifts. But if you're going to do it when it's not 2 times luck, and then save your gifts for when it's 2 times luck. Because getting 2 times rates when you're opening these just infinitely increases the value opportunity. And if you're not trading them, this can like double their value sometimes, depending on how desperate people get for like opening these. Like Valkyrie Chica is a 0.05% drop, so go from a 0.05 to a 0.1. It sounds minuscule, but when you're opening so many of these, it starts to get to the point where it's like a massive difference, and you're really shooting yourself in the foot if you're opening. Like, literally, like, this is not even trading advice, just for general advice, never open presents when it's not 2 times luck. I know how tempting it is, but don't do it. It's literally, you're just shooting yourself in the foot, and they do 2 times luck so frequently that, you know, you're just hurting yourself doing that. Final piece of advice, this is a personal piece of advice. I do not go crazy about trading for vengeance. Some people do, and it just for me it causes some really wacky trades that shouldn't be happening, because people kind of just put a lot of value on this. It's fair if you're kind of wanting a unit that already has vengeance. If it's like something like, say you really want Endo 02 vengeance, and you know your luck is terrible and you're not going to hit the 0.01. You know, trading like 1,000 souls extra for a vengeance is probably a good idea in long term. But in terms of like holding on to vengeance units and trading them, I don't like that idea particularly. Yeah, all it takes is for them to add a different trait that's rarer or change the odds. It's a little bit too insecure to me, and I think owning multiple units, like multiple different units instead of just having multiple units with vengeance, is probably just more valuable, in my opinion, especially for most people. If you're like a mega whale and you've got a stacked inventory, then maybe just having loads of units with vengeance is better because you already have the quantity, but I'm not sure. I'm personally unconvinced with that. But anyway, I think that's most of the advice I have for trading. I'd say I mean, the way you're going to do it is you're not going to do it in game. In-game trading is a nightmare to do. You're going to be doing it in game, but you're facilitating it through doing it on the Five Nights Tower Defense Discord. You're just going to want to scroll through this. Usually just, I find if you want actually good trades, posting your own, that's a really cool edit. That's a really cool edit, actually. Really good job to that guy. Yeah, just literally posting your offers here. What I usually do, let me try and get like this. So just, you know, short and to the point, just saying like, you know, well, for example, here I was just kind of feeling out offers for Charlie Endo 2. Just putting trading your unit all in caps, PM your offers, and then just putting put the image part is the most important part of you actually getting attention, because this chat, when it's active, is scrolling incredibly quickly. Like even when this is fairly dead, this is going by a little bit quick. Putting an image just helps yours stand out, and it means that you'll get more DMs, so you can kind of get more people to negotiate with. Also on the Discord, you're going to want to get access to the premium trading as soon as possible, so basically just interact with people in the general chat. I think you only have to be level 3 on Discord. This just, yeah, it's a little bit annoying time investment wise, but just having 2 different places to just dump your trades is probably just, I mean, it's just a lot better factually. Premium chat also, you know, since there's a lot less people have access to this chat just goes by a lot slower. So, yeah, as you can see here, there's like barely any movement at all. So you can actually just get your offers seen for a lot longer, which means that you're just going to get more people looking at it for longer, and you'll get more DMs probably. Don't place it in trade questions. It's really annoying actually when people do that, and I've never like looked at a trade question offer and been like, oh yeah, no, I want to do that. So don't do this. It's really like this is really annoying. Don't do that. But yeah, that's my general advice. Let me know if you have any advice in the comments down below if you've been trading for a little while like I have. I think I've gotten mostly everything. Do let me know if I've missed something in the comments. I just want to say thank you very much for your support recently. You've given me some incentive to keep going. I just really want to see this channel go somewhere, and you guys are showing that it's possible. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.